first off, what we're going to do is, obviously I like to make these panels for the fans because I know a lot of people want to ask questions to these two legends of the comic industry. But first of all, almost no introduction is needed. So let's just give a first round of applause to Mr. Roy Rascally Thomas. And his partner in crime for many years, because what we're going to find out today is that they have a little history between them. Dangerous Denny O'Neil. So let's just start off right off the bat as what I said. These two legends have a little bit of history together. Roy, tell us, how did you first meet Denny?
Denny will be able to tell you more about this in a minute, but sometime in, I guess, the beginning of 1965, and we can talk about that later, he became a young reporter fresh out of St. Louis U at the Southeast Missouri, which is the daily paper of Cape Girardeau County, about 100 miles south of St. Louis on the Mississippi River. And he'll tell you about his exploits there, which are interesting enough. But one of the minor things he was assigned to do was write just some filler articles for like the Saturday or whatever paper, just fills his space there, with some kind of pieces. And having seen some recent comics and seen they were a little different from the ones he remembered as a kid, he ended up writing a couple of pieces about comics, about the new comics and the DC stuff. And Stan Lee was mentioned in there and so forth. This is like 1965. And my mother lived in that county, in Jackson, Missouri, which was the county seat of Cape Girardeau County, which is where I had gone to college. I was off teaching in the St. Louis area. Denny and I had switched things. He had moved from St. Louis down to Cape Girardeau. I had moved from Cape Girardeau up to the edge of St. Louis. And my mother sent me at least the first of this article, and then later the second one, saying that here's somebody who wrote about comics in the Missouri, because she was, of course, a subscriber, she and my dad. And so, I just figured it might be interesting to get in touch with somebody, because I came down there every weekend or second weekend or whatever. And so Denny and I, he came by my apartment on the edge of St. Louis County, with his girlfriend and so forth, one day in '65. I already had a job lined up very shortly in the future at DC Comics, as the assistant editor of Superman and so forth. He was, sort of interesting, kind of, hit it off. He's a year or two older, but, sort of, had certain things in common and everything. And I saw him once or twice down there. And then when I when I switched over to Marvel after 2 wonderful weeks at DC, Stan within a couple of months was asked me, okay, you're working out okay, I still need another writer, I need another person to come up here, who could write. And so I mentioned 2 people that I thought, would be potentially, good. One was Tom Fagan, a guy, an older guy in Vermont. And the other was Denny, who I knew would write, because I'd seen his articles, in the paper and everything. So sent these tests off, and Stan especially liked Denny's test. Tom got offered a job some years later, but couldn't take it. And so the next thing you know, by late September, October, somewhere in there, Denny was in New York, and right in the middle of a strike, I believe. Anyway, I'll let Denny take it from there. You can tell whatever part of it you want to.
Denny, let me just say something. What was your first impression of Roy when you saw him?
You don't have to be truthful.
I like to get to the nitty-gritty.
We tell the story a little bit differently because we came at it from different angles. As far as I was concerned, I had these pages to fill, and they were the children's pages. Hard to fill them during the summer because you don't have school stuff to write about. And I was a lonely little petunia in that onion patch of town, and spending a lot of time staring at racks of books and stuff, and realized I was seeing comic books Okay, and then I realized, but I haven't seen them for about 10 years. They were a big part of my life when I was 7, 8 years old, and what happened to them? So I did a little investigating, and Roy's got in touch with me because, as he said, his parents, his mother, subscribed to the paper. So coming back from a visit to St. Louis with Ann, I decided, well, let's drop in and see this guy. I mean, we've got time to kill. And we did that. You were living in Fox?
I was teaching at Fox School. Yeah, we were in Limay. Yeah, which is sort of a suburb of St. Louis, just the first suburb over the line, yeah.
So Roy just opened the world for me. I was absolutely gobsmacked with this whole subculture that I was familiar with because I read a lot of comics as a kid, but had been totally out of touch with. I didn't know that it existed as a subculture. Poor Annie, sitting in the corner, never did get to like comics. And this was not her being snobby about it. It's some people can't get past the hurdle of a combination of image and word. It is a language that is composed of those two elements, the way a normal English sentence is composed of a noun and a verb. But I decided I would do another story, and this one about Roy. You have all read this story. Your local boy does something really interesting. And then I did several really spectacularly stupid things. One of which made enemies of everybody in the town I depended on to do my job. This was in the height of the 60s, the peaceniks, the marches on Washington. And the young woman that Roy mentioned earlier and I were very clandestinely helping the black community. It was a really viciously bigoted area. And the blacks lived in an area called Smelterville, no paving on the streets, no running water, real bad. So we helped where we could, and then I wrote a phony AP story about how Martin Luther King was going to come to Cape Girardeau, Missouri, and stage demonstrations. And then I slipped that onto the clipboard that all the cops had to read before going on duty. It usually had stuff like, Main Street will be closed from this time to this time. I slipped that on there, and I went about my business, and I got back to the office at about 10, and the phone was ringing, and it was the radio reporter from across the street who said, I don't know if you had anything to do with that Martin Luther King business. I don't want to know. But if you did, don't admit it, no matter what kind of pressure. Don't admit it. Because they took that real seriously. I went back to the little two-room shack I was living in, and there was the head of the detective bureau coming out of my bedroom.
Well, weren't you living next door to the police station at that time?
A parking lot away.
Okay.
Which, my job was beat reporter and feature writer. So, I had to, the police station was the first place I had to go to every morning. So that was nice, but I was immediately taken off the police beat and given the district news editor. That's about the little old ladies who have had an event in the Baptist church where they got together and they salad and stuff.
On the other hand, you weren't beaten with nightsticks. On the other hand, you weren't beaten with nightsticks, so there was a plus side.
Yeah, but it was clearly the end of my career as a small-town journalist. And I didn't know what to do, but then Roy and Smiling Stan came riding over the ridge, offering me a job as a comic book geek in New York. Well, suddenly I knew I had that newspaper job for as long as it took the editor to replace me. I would have replaced me. What a crappy thing to do. I mean, I could not have achieved anything. It's not like I was doing anybody any good. I was just being a smart ass.
If we'd known that, we probably wouldn't have hired you. I didn't know about that.